Welcome to the County Business Talks podcast, powered by Picture Book Films. Here, we're going to be talking to entrepreneurs and business owners from across Sussex, delving into the mindsets of what makes them really tick. Okay, so welcome to another episode of the County Business Talks podcast. My guest this week has worked in the accountancy industry for over 30 years, working with a diverse mix of clients, both corporate and individuals. She started at Hartley Fowler as a trainee accountant in 1982, working her way up through the ranks to managing partner in June 2005 until December 2020. In January 2021, embracing changes in both her personal life and work life, she started her own firm, Warren House Accountants, a practice based in Mid Sussex, trying to do things differently. Mainly now working with owner-managed businesses from a variety of industry sectors, helping them achieve their business and personal goals. Many people, myself included, have described my next guest as extremely brave and inspirational for many reasons. Today, she's happy to share her story with me. Welcome, Paige Collins.
Sam, thank you very much indeed, and it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
I'm absolutely delighted to have you on, Paige. I really am, and thank you for your time. And look, as always, we're going to delve straight in. Tell me a little bit. Look, you've been in accountancy for over 30 years. Did you know from a young age that that's what you wanted to do?
It's difficult to think I've been in accountancy over 30 years, to be honest. When I look back at my career, I went into accountancy not because I wanted to be an accountant. Not many people maybe do, I don't know. But I wanted to find out, and I was curious about business. As a family, we had various business interests, and I wanted to find out how businesses worked. And I thought the best thing to do, become an accountant, see lots of businesses in operation, and use the best practices from there. Wow. And I did my first company reorganisation for a family company before I was even qualified. I liked the business and industry sector so much I stayed in it with a diversity of clients, and the rest apparently is history. Yeah.
Amazing. That's really. So you said obviously your sort of family had interested in business as well. So I guess from a young age you'd sort of been around that, and that obviously I guess in your head sort of, like you said, inspired you potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my father was much older than my mother. My father actually died 41 years ago, aged 77. I was only 17 at the time. But he was an inspiration to me. I had an older half-brother who was also involved in the family businesses, and I was always just business curious, and it's just one of those sort of moments in time. I look back now and I go, have I enjoyed it? And actually, yes, I do. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy being business curious. I enjoy being people curious and engaging with people and helping them to be the best they can be for themselves and their families as well.
That's amazing. I love that, even that phrase, business curious and people curious. It's a great phrase to use, just because that's it, isn't it? Like, and I guess probably why you're such a great accountant, I'm assuming, in that sense that you are, because when you're coming at from an entrepreneurial way or from a business curious way, that you're able to help your people, your clients.
I don't see myself as an accountant, is one part of it. I actually refer to myself more often than not this day and age as a financial engineer. As a client said to me the other day, that's a bit dangerous, isn't it, to be a financial engineer doing what you do? I said, you don't say the same thing about a structural engineer when you're having some property work done, do you? Financial engineer is somebody that helps you support your business. As a structural engineer, make sure you have the right quantities of steel in your building to make sure it stands up to the test of time.
I love that. That's a great way. Like you say, it's just a great way of looking at it. There's some gold bits that is coming out of here, Paige, already, which is amazing. I love that. And you're absolutely right.
I mean, ultimately, it's a modern take on what is a very traditional profession.
Yeah,
and I like to think of ourselves as financial engineers. We work with our clients in a sort of strategic approach to what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it transcends the word accountancy.
Yeah.
Or accountant.
Absolutely, because it is. I guess just by changing that narrative, like a lot of times on the podcast, I talk about changing the narrative around certain subjects, whatever that looks like, and I guess that's the key message, really, isn't it? It's changing the narrative around.
I mean, you mentioned earlier about being brave and stuff like that. Some people have said I'm brave. I'd like to take the bravery into changing the dynamics of what is seen as a staid and rather boring profession, and making it a more dynamic and more interesting profession that people want to work with, accountants.
That's amazing. I love that. Okay. I just want to move on. So obviously we sort of spoke a little bit offline. I'd obviously like to talk and discuss your sort of personal journey relating to sort of gender identity. 2 years ago you made a decision to transition. Just can you tell me a little bit about that and why then?
There comes a point in life where you don't want to have any regrets or leave anything on the table, and I've led a very binary sort of existence over the years. I've never been very academic, actually, and therefore sport was my thing, and playing male sport, being involved in a male environment, you sort of end up not escaping how you want to be necessarily, and if you're reasonably good at it, and I think I was being reasonably good at it, there isn't any point in the journey where you think you can sort of just jump off. It's something that's always sort of been there, but then you get to a stage in life where you go, actually, do you know, now's my time, you know, and it was just the right time. I look back now and I haven't done any regrets, and it's just part of my journey. I think that was my destiny. I had no choice in the matter almost. It was just the way it was meant to be. That's my life's journey.
Amazing. And I mean, you sort of alluded to there that it's always been part of it. It was just a natural progression for you. You've sort of always been there. But can you pinpoint when you sort of thought about that from a young age, or like you said, as in the back of your mind, it was always there from as long as you can remember? Or
yeah, I think this day and age, of course, there's so much more out there to read about and to educate yourself about and things like that, compared to the woods 30 years ago. When I think how old I am now, I go, how's that possible? Because in my own mind, I'm still only 27, so but sadly, I'm a bit older than that.
And you look fabulous at 27, of course.
Thank you very much indeed. So there's no point in time, and people have different journeys, and some people later in life, and I just think this was my destiny, and my life has been a journey of destiny sort of things happening, I think, and that's just the way it is. Some people say I don't believe in destiny, all that sort of thing. Personally speaking, that's just where I'm at on my journey in life, and it just felt at the right time to do it, and you know, to be. People talk about being authentically you. I never was not authentic me, I don't think, but I just feel more happy and more engaged with everybody now than I have been previously necessary. Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's because I guess there's such a narrative around, like you said. I think it's so important and it's really interesting that you say that you know you've still been you and you're still you now. That authenticity, you're still an authentic person over the years as you have been, like you say.
You can't change history. You can just influence the future. And I say that from a business perspective, and I also say that from a personal perspective. And I'm influencing the future and how I am and how I'm going to be. That's
amazing. Yeah, and like I say, I think influencing the future, but inspiring people as well. In I sort of mentioned it obviously in the in the introduction about the inspiration. Certainly, we've again spoke a little bit offline about my personal journey. I've got twins, and we spoke a little bit about that. And my son Luca is obviously gender questioning. So I just find for me personally, I guess thank you for sharing your story and being such an inspiration, because I think you will be and are for so many people, and I think that's amazing.
Well, it's nice you say so. I don't feel I'm inspirational. You don't set out, I don't think anybody sets out with the view to being inspirational. What I hope to be is me, and if people feel that helps them, then I'm humbled by their experience and that they feel that's okay and part of their journey.
It's amazing. It's lovely to you do seem just very humble by the fact that you don't see yourself like that, but as I said, I mentioned not just myself, but other people that I speak to, people who said, "Oh, have you met Paige? You've got to meet Paige. She's such an inspiration." And people speak about you in them terms, but yourself, you don't see it. You're very humbled about that, but which makes it even more inspiring, I guess, and from an outsider point of view.
I mean, I've had anecdotally, I suppose, was at a train station February 2020, just before the pandemic, And for various different reasons, the trains were delayed and stuff like that. And this lady walked past me and smiled at me, and I smiled back, of course, because you do. Train was delayed. She came up and said, "I've just got to say," she said, "thank you for being you." She said, "You look fabulous and you're an inspiration." And I said, I was a bit curious, because I'm people curious. And I said, "Oh, thank you very much indeed," sort of, how's that sort of thing. And she now has a daughter that has gone through transition to become her daughter. And I think she was concerned that there wasn't life post-transition. And she just felt that just by being me on the platform in the station, doing what I was doing, was an inspiration to her. And if I've made a difference to one person's life, I'm humbled by that experience.
Wow. And not just one person, I'm sure many people's lives that you have inspired. That's incredible. What a lovely thing. Like I said, it's a great thing to hear. So thank you for sharing. I mean, I'm keen to see as well, like, how have you found generally the reaction from the business community? What's the reaction been like?
I have to say, it's been absolutely brilliant. I mean, one of the things about obviously making the transition is, being in the professional services industry, being in a slightly old-fashioned industry, profession,
Sure.
how you're always worried how people react. Everybody has been tremendously supportive, and I've been, again, humbled by that experience, that how people have just accepted me. It's never easy. All of my clients and friends as well are all on a journey with me, and they've not asked to be on that journey.
Sure.
I've got in the car, I'm driving down the road, and I've said, "Oh, just hop in with me, I'm just on this journey." And they're going, "Well, where are we going?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but this is just me." So that's tough for them sometimes, but everybody's been lovely and supportive and just brilliant, and I just humbled by, again, that whole experience of how they are.
Amazing. And I think ultimately, I guess, from what I think I've certainly learned, I guess, over the last 6 years, obviously with Luca, is, I guess, just if you're ultimately, it's irrelevant, or everything about how binary we are and what fluid and how we are, where we are in our gender fluidity, whatever that looks like. Ultimately, if we're a good person and a nice person, people respond to that.
Be kind, be brave, be bold. Is just simple
Yeah.
and effective, and kindness is very important.
Yeah.
And I try and treat people as I'd like to be treated myself, and I find that the more I treat people kindly, and I'm not an unkind person ever at all, people just pay that back to you in spades, and it's fabulous. And I've just been, as I say, humbled by the experience.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. I can imagine potentially, obviously, with that journey, some difficulties as well and challenges along the way. I mean, can you talk about maybe what's the hardest part been of the transition, would you say?
I mean, obviously the hardest part is making the final decision.
Yeah,
ultimately. Sure. You're going through all the angst, especially maybe later in life, because you've got a lot to lose.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. I've been married and have been married for 25 years. That's come sadly to an end, but my ex-wife and I are good friends. You can't be together with somebody for 25 years and not be good friends, and I'm very thankful for her support through this. So that's tough, that's different.
Yeah.
You're not sure how your friends are going to react, how your relatives family are going to react.
Yeah.
But they've all been tremendously supportive and kind.
Yeah.
And caring and empathetic and just fabulous.
Amazing.
And even a couple of clients have said to me, "We're not surprised."
Really?
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting as well. Has there been quite a few people that have said that, or?
I would say there's probably been 3 of my clients that said, we got your sort of letter that I sent out to people to explain the circumstances, and I'm sure it was 3 said, "We're not surprised."
Right. Okay.
And what made them say that, I don't know.
Yeah.
One of my good friends said, "You've always been somebody that's stood out, and why fit in when you're born to stand out?" And
Brilliant.
it's just one of those sort of phrases that lives with me, that I didn't feel that I was born to stand out, but and here I am, I suppose, standing out.
You are, and in such a great way, like I say, and that's another brilliant saying. That it's a great way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that, and with the, I mean, like you said, times I guess are very different. Like I guess, like I say, Luke has been born into a world where there's a lot more information out there. He's people curious, I guess, and he's questioning everything, and I say, like I say, very gender fluid in the sense that one day he dress in a dress and the next day he dressed in trousers and a t-shirt, and it's very fluid, and that's how it is. But I think how I guess people look at, like, it must. I'm just looking back at if times were different, like it was 30 years ago, as you sort of said. Like, there's a different. The world's a different place.
It's a very different place, and I'm sure I probably wouldn't be sat here in the same way 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and I'm very thankful that I can be here as being me, and presenting differently and being part of my journey. Yeah. And because of all sorts of things, but there's still struggles out there.
Of course.
People's families aren't supportive of not just transition, but there are other families that might be not supportive of people's religious circumstances and other things like that as well. Yeah. I think we're all born with kindness, but prejudice is one of those things that people gravitate towards for safety. Yeah. And that doesn't change, unfortunately, with age. Actually, some people get more prejudice with age.
Yeah, sure. And and I guess a couple of bits. One, we live in and around Brighton, which is an amazing place to be and be able to be yourself completely. I guess that's a great thing. I'm very thankful for we're from Essex originally, so I'm thankful that we're here and been able to and Luke is around inspirational people like yourself, and like I say, like that type of. And I guess it's the narrative that this is where what I've learned so much, I guess, over the last 6 years, is the narrative out there from what we're programmed to think, and how we're so, society as a whole are conscious of putting people in boxes and where we should fit and how that should be, and yet wouldn't it be an amazing place if we were just completely ourselves all of the time? We haven't got to put ourselves in these boxes, and we can just be. It's
amazing. I think as people get older, people get more curious more often than not, because they can. Yeah. And I think society is changing in so many ways. Just around the rhetoric that goes with whether it's gender equality, inequality, whatever it might be, all sorts of things within society. Society's grown up over thousands of years, and it's been very controlled in so many ways. But I think as people become more educated, you can express yourself in so many different ways, and be a good human being. I mean, that's the most fundamental thing about any of us can do, is be a good human being, being kind to other people, and be empathetic.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that the main thing to take away from this conversation that we're having at the moment is exactly that. Just kindness has got to be the ultimate goal, isn't it, from everyone? And again, I suppose I refer back to you and the support that you said you've had from the business community and family and friends and stuff, ultimately, because you've always been a kind person, so you're still a kind.
And I think the other aspect too, I mean, I'm somebody that believes that positive things happen to positive people, and some people maybe don't have that level of positivity about them. Some people are anxious and nervous and things like that, and if they're on a journey, that's much more difficult for them. And it's just in my makeup, my DNA, if you like, is I have a positivity, and that gets me through the day. And if you give that positivity to other people, they enhance that positivity and feed back on that, and some people sort of accept that positivity.
Absolutely. I'm a strong believer in that. I've like to think of myself as a very positive person as well. I think you do sort of positivity, that rubs off on people. That you're attracted to other positive people, and negativity breeds as much as positivity. And I think you try, and I certainly myself, and I'm sure you do the same, but try and surround yourself with positive people, like-minded in that sort of sense, that can, that support and believe in that sort of in positivity in that sense.
Absolutely. I mean, but we all need to support people who are less fortunate to be positive.
Yeah, of
because
course.
that's the kindness that comes out in us to support other people who need some of our positivity to help them through the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I've certainly, from sort of recording, when I'm sort of recording the mental health episode, when I've done it with Yaron, exactly that. I think that type of, because it's just to appreciate that not everyone's got that type of makeup.
No,
they're not whether they just get up every day and that them negative thoughts come into their mind, whatever that looks like. And none of us know what people are going through on their journey in life, and to just be kind to everyone, and we can support people in that way. But cool. I'm keen. Like, what was there? So we talked about, obviously, with some of the difficulties with the transition, but obviously then in January 2021, setting up your own practice. Was that challenging in itself, or at the same time?
I mean, I've been advising businesses how to set up businesses themselves for 30-something years, apparently. And I'd never thought it was going to be quite so difficult to set up your own business, which is interesting. So, there's a whole load of things to go through. I talk to people about sort of, you must have a 5-year business plan, you need a marketing plan as part of that. Yeah. And I had none of those when I started, so I'd gone against all my own advice, really. It was a bit short notice. We got a practice with 12 members of the team.
Wow.
Not all full time, but we have flexible working and everything else. I'm just trying to create a difference, trying to be working with clients in a positive way. As again, you can't change history; you can influence the future. So, it's all about how you connect with people. Yeah,
that's amazing. I mean, January 2021 to here we are a year later, and 12 members of the team, and that's pretty amazing in itself.
I try not to think about it too much. But no, I do. I mean, I take it very, I'm humbled again by the experience, because we've expanded the team during the course of the year. A couple of members of the team have joined us, and they wanted to come and work for a progressive organisation. And it's just you put yourself a little bit under pressure by the sales pitch sometimes, and then you have to deliver, which is great, and I don't have a problem with that. In terms of that's what I want to create.
And so talk to me a little bit about that, because again, culture is something that I discuss quite a lot on the podcast. You've started the practice a year ago, and you obviously you're saying you want to do things differently, so you're trying to create a culture where people want to come and work and believe in that you're doing it. So talk to me a little bit about the culture at One House.
So it's about connecting with people and giving a younger generation. I mean, I've got experience apparently, which is great, but my career is coming towards not the end, but I want to pass on my experience to the younger generation. I have a younger team coming through, and it's about engaging with them so they can learn from my experiences. Not necessarily all my experiences are going to be right or wrong, but just to engage with them and give them the support and encouragement to be themselves, and to support them to be supportive of the business community. And it's very important to engage with people. And, as I said earlier, it's a question about being people curious and business curious. You can't sit behind a computer screen and present somebody some accounts without actually finding out about the business and what it really means.
Yeah, sure.
We're just coming into the situation now. Obviously, January is a busy month.
Sure.
For us, tax return season. But sort of from about mid-February through to the end of March, I see pretty much all of my clients, or have a conversation with my clients about what I call profit extraction, a bit of financial engineering, if you like. And then we look forward. We say, where's the business at, what it's doing, what's the plan for next year, what do you want to do, what do you want to achieve? And we're starting to work with clients more and more now to actually engage with them about working with the business and working on the business, not in the business. We've developing skills along that sort of line. So some younger members of my team have done a virtual finance director's course as part of their sort of learning to help support businesses from a financial aspect, but it's the non-financial things that also you can bring to it through experience. Yeah, sure. That's what it's all about.
That's amazing, isn't it? Because that's it, like some key points there, I guess, taken out from looking at from a business point of view, that the ultimate thing running your own business is 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 about working on it and not in it. It's such a difficult. I mean, I'm conscious. Sometimes you can be, sometimes very busy, sometimes a busy four. I'm probably guilty of that myself. But you're rushing around, doing lots of things, and you're working in it as opposed to on it. And that, but to have that support from your accountant, I guess, financial engineer.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm going to get that right. I love that. I'm going to use that. So yeah, financial engineer, and to actually engineer that progress. What is it that you want to get from your business? Where do you want to go? Where does it need to be?
And you only get that information by sitting down, talking to people, and understanding them as individuals and their business, and what they can do for their business, and what they can do for them, their family, and the next generation.
Yeah. That's amazing. And look, a key thing, again, we've sort of spoke a little bit offline, but building relationships is, in any business, people, me and you use this a lot in a conversation we had over coffee, saying people still buy from people, don't they? And building those relationships is key across any, whatever.
It's so important, and unfortunately, I think the historically accountancy profession have got lost in technology and are using technology for the sake of technology rather than still engaging with people. And I want to buck that trend and have a different view of things and actually get back to working with people, which is why I was business curious in the first place. That's why I went into the profession.
Wow, it's amazing how that's come full circle then in that sort of sense. And so I'm keen over the last year. Then is it so there must have been some difficulties maybe, or has it been quite like even recruiting staff and like growing that team over during a pandemic, we've still had a lockdown.
I mean, obviously we're not being impacted by the lockdown. We've still been working. People have been working from home. Clients haven't wanted us on site, so we've been doing more things virtually as best we can. I've had meetings with clients in 9 different countries around the world on Zoom.
Wow.
Or Teams. Wow. I mean, and as a client said to me the other day, wow, fantastic if you'd have gone to those countries, wouldn't it? And I said, well, they're only there because of the pandemic and they can't escape because of it. So we've had to have conversations with them in these countries. But great for technology, because we wouldn't have been connected otherwise.
Yeah.
But in spite of that, it's still a people business. And you still need to be talking to people, meeting people, engaging with people, and finding out about that sort of thing. Yeah. The amount of things you find out from people in an actual meeting, you'd never find out virtually.
Yeah. It's strange, isn't it? Because I'm similar. Like, Zoom's been great for business. I've built relationships over Zoom, and I've been fortunate enough to keep businesses going because of those sort of connections. But it's still not the same. Like sitting in a room with someone and being there, or going and having a meeting and having a coffee. I
mean, there are always challenges with running any business, especially a startup business. You're always, at the start of the month, you go, wow, we've got to get this work finished to get the money in the door to pay the wages and stuff like that. That's always a challenge.
Yeah, of course.
But when I set up 12 months ago, my thought process was we're unlikely to get any new clients in the first 12 months. I think we've got a dozen new clients, if I remember rightly, in the first 12 months. Wow. I've got leads with others to go and follow up, and people are engaging with me and the team. And I never envisaged that would be the case. Part of a smaller business, even as a firm of financial engineers. But also with my own personal journey, I thought might put people off. But, I'm trying to be positive about what we're doing, the dynamic changes we want to make to what we are doing with clients, and how clients are receiving that. It's going to be a cultural change for some of the clients because they've never had to engage with their financial engineer or their accountant in the way they're hopefully going to do with us going forward.
Amazing. And it's like you say, I guess it's the amazing part of the journey, not only, I guess, your personal journey, but with your business journey as well, in that sense of setting and knowing that you're going out bucking the trend, doing things a bit differently, that people will, like you say, people then, if they're business curious as well, they want to come and find out a little bit more about that, and how they've got a good relationship with their financial engineer, and they can look at how they've helped that business progress, and that's fascinating to hear. And obviously, a year on, 12 members of staff, new clients coming on board, and so what are the plans for Warren House?
Obviously, keep on doing the same thing, keep spreading the good word out there that we're different from the traditional firms, and bucking the trend. And also the most important thing is engaging with the younger members of the team to create an environment where they want to be part of what we are doing as a team of people. Although sort of my name is over the door, it goes much beyond that. You know, I'm trying to engage with and lead the team to be business curious, be people curious, and more than anything else, business needs to be fun. And just because we're a firm of financial engineers, old-fashioned accountants, it doesn't mean we can't have fun and engage with our clients and engage with them and look at things positively.
Yeah, amazing. And what I spoke to a previous guest, and we was talking about the journey of running a business, and ultimately just to enjoy that journey. It's so difficult to, you set goals or targets or where you want to get to and whatever that looks like. And I guess, success is sometimes... I really think the narrative around success needs to change in regards to its, financial success means you're successful.
It shouldn't always be financial success.
That is, yeah.
I'm working on a concept which looks beyond financial returns.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately people, and because of the pandemic and because of the way people work differently now, I think there may be a different measure of success, and it won't be financial success.
Talk to me about that, because I know we talked briefly about this offline, so I'm keen to share that.
Yeah, it's very in its infancy. I'm happy to share it with you, and so I think there should be a concept of emotional profit.
Yeah.
So emotional profit won't be measured by a number, because that's very sort of old-fashioned and very binary. It'll be measured by colours, and there will be a colour of emotional profit, depending on various makeup of what makes up emotional profit. Green credentials, carbon neutralness, engagement with team, engagement with clients, engagement with corporate social responsibility, all of those sort of things. So things that people do already, but bringing them all together and calling it emotional profit. And I'd love to get the opportunity of speaking to some large companies and saying, measure your emotional profit, because the financial profits will follow.
Yeah.
And maybe people might at some stage have a different view of actually what it means to be successful.
I absolutely love that. I really do. I think that for me, definitely, I've sort of on my own journey, I guess I've come around to a way of that. I first got into business and running my own business, I was very driven by it. Because in my head, my own narrative of success is financial reward, is become a millionaire, and that will mean that I'm successful in that sense. And you look at things a lot differently when, like I say, what Luke has taught me over the last 6 years and where I am in my own personal journey in regards to business, and looking at it and just going, I totally buy into that, in the sense that, of course, we need to generate an income.
But society measures our success financially.
Yeah, exactly.
If society measured our success emotionally and scrapped financially, people would have a different view of it.
Yeah. I completely agree, because I think I can't remember if we spoke about this offline. I mentioned it in the mental health one, but I remember that when I turned 40, I remember really getting to that. Really, I got to quite a low point for myself personally. I was a bit I really struggled, but in my head, I changed what the narrative of success was, because I looked around and I was very, very fortunate to be surrounded by, I've got many friends within the business community. I'm very fortunate in that sense. I've got friends who I've known for years from school who are still my best mates, who would, walk over hot coals for me, and I'll do the same for them. And, my brother lives in Australia, but my best mate, wife, etc., and lovely kids, and mum and dad. And I looked around, I was like, I'm surrounded by love, and I've experienced love in all these different forms. And in my head, I was like, that has made me. Turning 40, if I've achieved that, then that's success.
And that can't be measured financially.
No, exactly.
But it can be measured as a colour.
Yeah.
And that isn't that important. But it's the way society's been constructed. If you're drilling down into it, even back to education, the way we measure academic success is the traditional form of academia in terms of A levels, GCSEs, A stars. If you change that dynamic and said to teachers, we will now want to measure an emotional return, which is things you do outside of the educational current curricula, that would change the rankings of schools.
That for me would be incredible, because you're
But you've got to change the mindset of those people that set the policies.
Yeah,
and I don't want to get into any politics on it,
No,
because that'd be a different story altogether.
Yeah.
But that's the trouble. You have to have a rebel idea and see it through. But if you don't change the rhetoric by which things are measured and stand up and say that sort of thing, then nothing will change.
I think that's fascinating. I love the idea from the education, because again, I spoke a few times about the education on the podcast and what that looks like, and that people. I failed my A levels, and academically, I done okay, but I wasn't, and I think the way we're tested and the way is potentially not the right way, and I think, like you say, it's changing that narrative, even from people employing people saying, I mentioned it on a previous podcast, saying about Stephen Bartlett, as does Diary of CEO. He was like, look, I will employ people based on attitude and what they're like as an individual. Doesn't matter if they've got no qualifications or lots of qualifications. That's not going to be taken into account. It's just based on how they are as a person. Are they a good person? If they got the right attitude? And I think if that narrative comes from business leaders and owners and across the board, then the education side can potentially change and lean more towards that.
Only if you change the political rhetoric around education, and it's a bit of a political hot potato at the best of times. Not without being political about it, but it's somebody has to stand up and be counted at some stage and say, well, it's about time we change this sort of thing. And some schools are trying to make a difference
Sure.
about the co-curricular activities, so the activities that support the education of children through the sort of binariness of education, and it needs to be more open-minded.
Yeah, I completely agree. Fascinating. That subject as a whole, from whether it be from business, from education, whatever it is, but based more on emotional intelligence as opposed to academic intelligence, it would be an amazing place to be. I think if society as a whole moved more towards that.
And I think you gain more emotional intelligence as you get older.
Sure.
Because emotional intelligence isn't taught as a subject. And that's some of the problem. I went to a school where you had the emotional intelligence taken out of you, because that's the way they controlled and ran the school.
Wow.
That's just the way it was in those days.
Sure.
And in some schools it probably still is today. But a better emotional connection with people would make them generally kinder, more human people, and do better things for society.
And almost like whether we like teaching soft skills in school and how that looks like. Where do you start? What does that look like going into schools and changing that?
Well, you don't do a GCSE in it. If you did a GCSE in it, but that's where I go back to my emotional colour. If you get emotional colours from doing things that are not academic in terms of Latin or Greek or English or maths, then schools would start to measure that, and parents who put a lot of pressure on their children to get the best education in the binariness of the educational world, they'd look at it differently and say, actually, we want our child to go to an emotionally intelligent school.
Amazing. I love it. That's brilliant. Wow.
Watch this space.
I was going to say, watch this space. Watch this space. You heard it here first. Look, another thing I'm actually keen to explore now, is again something I always talk about is the work-life balance situation. Like running your own business and doing you obviously looking after staff and like you say, creating this culture where people want to be and want to work. But how do you?
Well, firstly, they're not staff; they're team members.
Okay.
Staff is a very anachronistic term in my view this day and age, and I think it's very important to treat everybody equally. It's very important to engage with members of the team and you trust them all. And a lot of, I think, employers don't seem to trust their staff. If they don't trust the staff, they shouldn't be working for the team. And now I've forgotten the rest of the question.
I'm saying work, but for you,
sorry,
what do you?
balance.
So you obviously and look, it's answered it in a way, I guess. But I'm keen to explore more like the work life, because you trust your team so much. You've got people where you're able to.
I'm lucky, I suppose, that I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the financial engineering. I enjoy being business and people curious. But also I have a lot of hobbies, which occasionally allows me some time off for good or bad behaviour. I play golf, I play a bit of cricket, I play a bit of hockey, And last year, for the first time, I took part in the Brighton Speed Trials because I got my motorsport race licence.
Wow, okay.
And that was something that I've always wanted to do. And it's one of those things I've always said, as you get older, don't leave any regrets on the table. So I've done it. My father first took part in the Brighton Speed Trials in 1936 and won a trophy. And I just wanted to sort of complete the circle. And I've always been interested in cars because our family business was in the motor trade. And I've completed that circle, and it's just a fabulous feeling.
Wow, that's amazing. And like you say, these sort of these things you've gone out and done, starting your own business, and doing the motorsport and stuff like that. But like all of this in the last 18 months to 2 years, from your sort of transition to that, what an amazing last couple of years.
It's been fabulous.
And you can tell, like, when you talk about it, and like your enthusiasm around the business, around happy to share your journey as you are, and talk about it in that sort of positive way, and the positive experiences that you've had as well, which is it's just been tremendous. I mean, I never set out with any preconceived ideas as to how the journey was going to look. Yeah, sure.
But I've been, as I say, humbled by people's acceptance and inclusion from all walks of life, to be fair.
Yeah, amazing. We're sort of coming. There's a couple of bits we're going to finish off with towards the end, and I want to just finally, I guess, before we go into those bits, just tell me what the future holds for you and for Warren House.
Well, I hope we continue our success. That's the plan. I'd like to find and expand the business with like-minded people that want to come and work for us.
Yeah.
As things stand at the moment, we've got the right team in place doing the right things for our clients, and that they want to involve with the business. As hopefully we get more successful and get more clients on board, we might need a few more members of the team. And I'm hoping at that we'll find more members of the team that want to come and be part of that journey in a positive way, and come in with an open mind, and not with the binariness of maybe the accountancy profession, but with the open-mindedness of being a financial engineer.
That is the narrative that needs to change, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I guess that's initially, I guess, is that a challenge to the communication that you got to get out to people to like you say, it's almost changing as an archaic way of thinking, an archaic way of looking at things in regards to how, I guess, stereotypes of what an accountancy firm does or what it looks like. And
I mean, some people have said it's a risky phrase to use, but if you want to make a difference, you have to make a difference and have to stand up and be counted. Yeah. I suppose I'm standing up and being counted in so many different ways, and the proof of the pudding will ultimately be in the success that we create. I suppose the holy grail for me is that we create a successful and expand the business in a positive and emotional way, and somebody knocks on the door and says, love what you do, I've got a bigger business, and how do you do what you do? Come and tell us what you do. How can you make our business better?
Amazing. I love it. Well, look, I certainly wish you every success with it, and I'm sure it will go from strength to strength. I've no doubt about it. We're coming towards the end, so I've got a question I'm going to ask, and then also I stole something a little bit from another podcast that I listened to. So I've got my previous guest has wrote a question as well for you.
Okay.
That I'll ask you, and I'll get you to do the same for my next guest. But before we do that, I just want to, if you can just tell me one piece of advice that you'd give to your younger self before sort of starting out in the business.
Always be positive, always be yourself, and be kind and be bold.
Brilliant. Great words. Well, look, I've got my previous question here from my last guest. So, what is your approach to charity, and how do you handle requests to provide free services to charities?
I mean, that's always tough. I mean, there's the charity sector. I could tell you all sorts of stories about the charity sector. We support the Dame Vera Lynn Children's Charity for cerebral palsy. They're based on the same office space as us. Fabulous charity, and I think it's important for all organisations to support charitable needs. I mean, the charity sector itself, if you just think the amount of charity work that goes on in the country, And if that didn't happen, the country would come to a standstill. I think it's just totally underestimated the value that it creates, and the goodwill it creates, and the kindness it creates as well around the country. So trying to do more. We're engaging with charities. I mean, doing free work, I think that sort of maybe slightly undervalues the work you do.
Yeah, sure.
Possibly, and it depends what it is.
Yeah.
But I think that comes back to my sort of engagement with emotional profit. I think you can do some things at maybe a reduced value, but I think charities need to understand that obviously business supports charities, and there needs to be a contribution from the charity back.
Yeah.
I'm a trustee of a charity. It's an unpaid position, and I do get asked to be, an unpaid trustee, treasurer type sort of thing.
Of course.
And you can't do everything for nothing.
No, absolutely.
In part, but the more experience you get, the more you get asked to do things. And I love putting things back into the business community and into the charity community too, and be supportive as best we can be as an organisation and as an individual as well.
Yeah. Amazing. Paige, thank you so much. Listen, I knew that it would be. We spoke offline, and I'm really grateful for you to have come on. But it's been absolutely amazing to get to know you over the last few months. And like I say, I know we sort of spoke offline. We mentioned a little bit on here, but I guess from a personal point of view, just I want to thank you really for sharing your journey with our listeners, but with me personally as well. And I think me with the twins and the amount I've learnt over the last 6 years from that, and my own thought process around gender and how we look at stuff is been amazing. My 6-year-old son has taught me more about the world than I'd learnt in the previous 40 years. So and what I can say, I guess, to you is a thank you for just being an inspiration for someone like her, as she's growing up now, and putting it out there, and thank you for being you and being an inspiration.
Well, thank you for inviting me to come and have a chat with you. It's been fabulous fun. Really enjoyed it, and good luck with everything and everybody else's journey.
Amazing. And watch this space for emotional profit, shall we say?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very much.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Sam.
And that is a wrap, as they say.